What if we turn back time? What if we didn't care about Oops All Spells? That's what we're doing in today's Epic Storm video. Let's go check it out. Today's video is a donation deck from Valgrim, a member of the Combo Cabal, which is the top tier of this channel. And with that tier, you get 1 hour of coaching each month, but you also get a free donation deck. Valgrim really loves the Epic Storm. And in fact, I've been doing tutoring sessions with them for over a year now. They're one of our greatest success stories. They went from someone that wasn't particularly very good to incredibly competent now. And I have to say, Valgrim is one of the Epic Storm's top pilots. They did really well at Eternal Weekend last year, and they decided that they didn't feel like playing Leyline of the Void anymore. They just would rather ignore Oops All Spells than to answer it. And the reason why is that they would like to play main deck Galvanic Relay again. So that's what we're doing today. We're actually playing the Epic Storm version 16.9. So we're playing 3 main deck Galvanic Relays, we're playing the 4 copies of Thoughtseize in the sideboard. They've been in the main deck of the most recent list. So if we look at 17.0, this is the list that I've gone back-to-back 5-0s with over the last 2 months. So this is the list that I've been playing. It has the main deck Thoughtseize, only 3 in the board, so that way we can make room for Leyline of the Void. But why would Valgrim want to go backwards? Well, when you look at MTG Goldfish, tempo decks in particular are over 20% of the metagame. And then if you add in control decks, it goes up to like 26%. So about a quarter of the field is blue decks, which means that Galvanic Relay should thrive in this metagame. It makes a lot of sense why you would want to play a bunch of copies of Galvanic Relay. But the problem that I personally see with this is that Oops All Spells and Dimir Reanimator are all over the place, and it sort of requires you, in my opinion, to play Leyline of the Void. That said, Valgrim wants to go back and see if you can just get by with Galvanic Relay and Thoughtseize. So one thing that makes Galvanic Relay super good in the Epic Storm is that when you have an Echo of Aeons and you float red mana, you can then Galvanic Relay for 13, 14, etc. But you also, when you float red mana, you have the possibility of hitting Gamble, Burning Wish, or Galvanic Relay, giving you over 10 red hits that are successful. So if you don't have Galvanic Relay, are you floating black? Are you floating red? It becomes a little bit more of a question. And I think floating red is just so simple when you have Galvanic Relay in the deck. And on top of beating blue decks, I think that the deck just works better when Galvanic Relay is in it. So, because Galvanic Relay is this hybrid protection and action spell. So when you have a spell like that, it fits a lot of needs. There's no other card like that in all of Magic the Gathering for this deck. And when you run Thoughtseize, sometimes you end up struggling not finding the action spells you want and things like that. But with Galvanic Relay in the main deck, you don't have that issue. So I understand wanting to go back. It's just not having Leyline of the Void in the sideboard could be really risky. In one of my recent videos, I didn't face a single graveyard deck and I went 5-0 anyway. In the last video, I actually beat Oops All Spells because I mulliganed to 4 and just had a Leyline and then won the game after that. So Leyline of the Void does matter. It's just how often does it matter to make up for not having 4 copies of Galvanic Relay in your 75? That's the thought. That's the question. Who knows? But I would like to thank Valgrim for the donation deck today. I really do appreciate your support and being a member of the Combo Cabal. Everyone, I will see you in the first round. Don't go anywhere. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You can also show your support by becoming a member of this channel. You get sweet perks such as badges, emotes, early access to videos, exclusive members only content, and access to our members Discord section. As you increase the tiers, there are other rewards such as shop discounts, sideboard guides, and even free donation decks. Click the join button down below to find out more. We also have other ways you can support us, like theepicstorm.com/shop or submitting a donation deck via theepicstorm.com/donation decks. That's enough for now. Let's play some Magic. Welcome to the first round. We are on the play, and we're facing Angus MTG, who plays a lot of Delver variants. So in this matchup, we are rewarded for having a bunch of main deck copies of Galvanic Relay. Here we have a hand where it's not particularly good against blue decks. Like the 2 copies of Burning Wish is a little clunky. The Gaia's Will is really awkward here because you don't want it in your hand. So this hand is basically a mulligan to 5. And it's a mulligan to 5 that would be decent if you were facing a non-blue deck. But we know that our opponent's playing Izzet Delver. At least that's what their entire MTG Goldfish history is. So I'll just take a mulligan. This is better. I would gladly keep this hand. Our opponent joined us with taking a mulligan. We'll keep and get rid of a Lotus Petal. So we do have a bunch of Galvanic Relays in our deck, but you shouldn't keep cards just because of that. So I understand that if I had kept Lotus Petal, it's an extra card for Galvanic Relay. Well, I'd rather just consistently hit my land drops, and when I have 2 copies of Scalding Tarn, I could search out the Undercity Sewers on their end step, get that Surveil value in, untap, play the second Scalding Tarn, brainstorm, and then go grab the Commercial District. So now I end up surveilling twice, which means that my draws are a little bit better, and I have more stable mana. So if I was going to keep both Lotus Petals, I would get rid of a Scalding Tarn. What happens then if I brainstorm and it gets dazed? Or I brainstorm and then I don't find a fetch land? There's a lot of things that could go wrong, and I think keeping that second Lotus Petal is just incredibly risky. Not to mention the fact that when you play Galvanic Relay, having permanent mana sources on the battlefield is exactly what you want, and you don't really want to burn a Lotus Petal to then create a card later. Because what if you miss on mana? Like, just having the lands out of the deck and on the table is such a huge boost. So I don't think that's really a play you would like to make. And they have a first turn Dragon's Rage Channeler plus the Mishra's Bauble. Okay, and they surveil away a Scalding Tarn. And now they're going to look at our top card. Okay, I'm going to fetch. And we'll grab Undercity Sewers. I don't want Beseech the Mirror. We already have an action spell. Plus, Beseech the Mirror is very expensive. I don't have that much mana right now. And they're a dazed deck, so I would need even more mana. We find another Burning Wish. It's definitely a card I'm interested in putting back off this Brainstorm. Okay. Well, now I think things have changed a little bit. I'm going to get rid of the Lotus Petal and a second copy of Burning Wish. I guess it's really the third copy. But I'm going to fetch now, and we'll just surveil. My game plan currently, and I mean this is going to take a few turns to set up here, is to Burning Wish for Thoughtseize, and then Burning Wish for like an Echo of Aeons, or the Beseech the Mirror Nagai's Will loop, but I'd have to hit another artifact. We'll grab the Commercial District. Ooh, we bend an Echo. That's incredibly good. Let's go. Pass the turn. They tap for a blue and play Ponder. They kept the card on top. Interesting. They play a Wasteland. Okay. They have 5 in hand. They swing for 1. We'll go to 17. Chrome Mox. We'll play the Chrome Mox, imprint a Burning Wish. And now I would like to play the Burning Wish. That resolves. I'll grab Thoughtseize out of the sideboard. And now I will play... Maybe I should have played the Lion's Eye Diamonds first, because now they could force a will a Lion's Eye Diamond. And then this Thoughtseize would not be very good. So they know my last card in hand is Thoughtseize. I did not sequence that well. Showing a little bit of rust here. Alright, play the Thoughtseize. And now if they daze, I could just sacrifice a Lion's Eye Diamond and pay for it. And they have double daze. So whatever I take here doesn't really matter. We'll just take 1 daze, I guess. I'm at 14. We'll sacrifice 4 blue and red, because we have Galvanic Relay in our deck. And now I can flash back the Echo of Aeons, floating 3 mana. Storm is 6. They just let it resolve. Okay. Let's brainstorm. 2 red mana floating. And that resolves. We get double gamble. Okay. So I think we would like to put back the Beseech the Mirror in a land. Let's play a Lion's Eye Diamond. We'll play another Lion's Eye Diamond. Play the Mox Opal. And now we will play Thoughtseize. Storm is 11. Why were you tanking? You got nothing. Nothing. Alright, so now we will gamble. And we'll go grab an Echo of Aeons. Doop. Straight to the graveyard. Well, I guess it's not Entomb. I lied. It's not straight to the graveyard. But now we can flashback Echo of Aeons with a bunch of mana floating. We don't have enough to cast Beseech the Mirror here, but I do have 4 mana floating. Interesting. I mean, I could try to go all in here, but I would lose to a Force of Will. I'm trying to think how I could get sneaky about this, and I don't think there really is a way. We'll lead on the Mox Opal. Lion's Eye Diamond. Yeah, there's no real way to get sneaky about this. I should just play everything out. We'll play the Guy's Will. Cast a Burning Wish. Storm 17. If they have Force of Will here, I lose. And they don't. So they never drew Force of Will. We'll grab Tendrils of Agony. If they dazed, I would have just Galvanic Relayed there. But they didn't. And we get game number 1 over Izzet Delver. Okay. So you could board in Besaju or Abrupt Decay. But with Galvanic Relay in the main deck, I'm not even sure if I'd like to do that. A lot of these Delver lists currently aren't playing Null Rod. A lot of them are playing Grafdigger's Cage. And if they do have a Grafdigger's Cage, I'd rather just win another way. I have Song of Creation. I have Galvanic Relay. I don't need to win by flashing Echo of Eons back. So I think I'd rather just resubmit than sideboard. And we have an Echo of Eons. I'll keep. This hand's okay. It's not amazing. There's no protection spell. There's no Galvanic Relay, but it's fine enough. They have a first turn Flooded Strand, Volcanic Island, Monastery Swiftspear. So they're on a prowess build. Most likely playing Quarry Steel Cutter. We'll play Scalding Tarn and pass. And now they ponder. So a lot of you are probably saying, Bryant, you could go Lotus Petal and then fetch Surveil Trigger on the stack and Brainstorm. I know that's something I have access to here. I'm aware of that. I think sometimes people like to get cute a little too often. And I'm not convinced that it's actually just like the best move to do. So I would rather end step Surveil and see what my options are, untap and Brainstorm, and just not be forced into a line that could lose to a Force of Will. But the Wasteland shuts that off because I don't really want to do that. So we'll just draw. Burning Wish. Now we can just go to cleanup. Discard this Echo of Eons to hand size. They preordain. Mishra's Bauble. And they'll look at our top card. So now the Monastery Swiftspear will attack for 3. Ouch. We're at 14. They'll draw off the Bauble, going up to 5 cards in hand. We'll draw another land. Wonderful. Okay, pass the turn. I do not feel like I'm under any pressure to do anything, so I'm just not going to. I find that a lot of people get a little antsy. I think that's the best way of saying it, where they're like, oh no, my opponent's drawing cards, I have to jam. No, you don't. If they're not killing you, you can be patient. So they play another Mishra's Bauble, and now they're going to use it. They swing, end step will fetch, grab Underground Sea, and let's Brainstorm. We did find Galvanic Relay. We'll get rid of the Echo and the Gamble. And then let's fetch. And we'll just grab the Undercity Sewers, so that way this Wasteland doesn't get to cut us off their preferred color. I'd rather choose which mana sources I'm going to have. We'll get rid of the Gamble. So now they'll draw off Mishra's Bauble. I'm at 9. Another Burning Wish. So we'll play Lotus Petal. Play Lotus Petal. Let's try a Dark Ritual. And another Dark... Actually, let's Brainstorm before I just burn the Dark Ritual. Storm is 4. Okay. We'll put back the pair of Burning Wish. Play Lions a Diamond. Dark Ritual. So I have 9 mana right now. So I can Galvanic Relay here for 7. Which is going to exile 2 copies of Burning Wish. 1, 2... Song of Creation, Veil of Summer, Beseech the Mirror, Badlands. Not a lot of mana in there. And another Beseech the Mirror. Yeah, there was like no mana in there. I'm going to try to double Flashback Echo here. I lose to Force of Will plus Daze, which it feels pretty likely that they have. But there's no mana in here, so passing doesn't make any sense. And there's the Force of Will. They paid life and then undid it, so maybe they just want to change the blue card. They exile a Murktide Regent. And now we'll try to flash back the second one. Storm is 10. You have to have a Daze. Yeah, okay. We just didn't hit mana there. So next turn I have a Badlands I could play. But what does that even do? So, like, hypothetically, the best draw in my deck is a Lion's Eye Diamond. But even if I drew Lion's Eye Diamond, I can't do anything with the 7 cards I revealed. Yeah. So Relay here for 7 just wasn't good enough. Bummer. Okay. Sometimes that happens. And that sort of goes back to what I was saying in game number 1 about permanent mana sources mattering. Because sometimes you end up with really clunky relays like that. And it's not necessarily a fault of relay. If you echo Eons into those 7 cards, you'd be pretty upset too. We'll keep this. I have the ability to brainstorm away the Guy's Will and Tendrils of Agony on the 2nd turn. So we'll play Undercity Sewers. Keep the backup Lion's Eye Diamond past the turn. They play a Misty Rainforest and Volcanic Island. Grafdigger's Cage. So this Echo of Aeons just got a lot worse. Okay. We'll play the Verdant and let's brainstorm. So we have 3 cards we would like to get rid of now. And without this Grafdigger's Cage, this would have been a turn 2 protected Echo. Okay, so we'll get rid of the Guy's Will and the Tendrils. So I'm choosing to keep the Tendrils of Agony because what if I pulverize? I could get rid of this Grafdigger's Cage and then play my Lion's Eye Diamonds and flashback. So that is a possibility. They have Monastery Swiftspear and now they swing. No land. Okay, so they have a pretty good hand if they kept this then. We'll grab the Commercial District. I don't think I need a Lotus Petal here, so we'll put that to the graveyard. A Mox Opal. Let's try Brainstorm. This would be a great spot to hit a Galvanic Relay. Whew. Okay. We did not. We will... I mean, you could be a crazy person and try to gamble for it, but I don't think that's a good idea. I think you're supposed to get rid of Echo and a copy of Opal. We'll play the Scalding Tarn, pass the turn. They now play Brainstorm. Scalding Tarn, okay. They attack for 2, I go to 16, we'll fetch. And I think we probably just want Badlands here. Now we'll go to my turn, another diamond. So I could try to gamble for Relay here. I don't hate it. Ideally discarding like an Opal or one of the diamonds, but I'd be pretty upset if I discarded the Veil. It looks like they have Hydroblast. I will Veil of Summer, and they have Force of Will. Okay. We will pass the turn. Another Monastery Swiftspear. They have 3 in hand, and now they play Ponder. Urza's Bauble. They're going to use it quickly. They have 6 power on the board, so this puts me down to 9. And now they'll draw a card. Ooh, all mana. Okay, pass the turn. Brainstorm. Okay, so can they deal me 9 here? A Lightning Bolt would kill me. And now they Ponder. Blooded Strand. Channeler. So they're short of killing me. Or at least it seems so. I could be wrong. So this would put me to 1 currently. So a Daze would... If they dazed their own Mishra's Bauble, that would have killed me. So it looks like I'm going to 1. And they'll draw a card. We'll draw for turn. Relay's not good enough here. I'm at 1. That said, if this was a Thoughtseize, that doesn't help either. So we lose match number 1 to Izzet Delver, one of the matchups that we put Relay in the deck for. So a little bit of a bummer here. Sometimes you lose. It happens. We're 0-1. Moxfield.com is the easiest way to build a Magic deck online. They support over 30 formats, including Legacy and many other Eternal formats. There are so many options to view decks the way that you want, from text view to individual cards, mana value, and even card price. There's also light mode and dark mode. My personal favorite feature is card tags. This way you can sort cards by function. Moxfield supports collection tracking, Scryfall search, decklist feedback, and so much more. Follow me on Moxfield.com so you can stay updated on all of my decks. So we lost a match. Who cares? It's just a league. Let's try to get match number 2. And our opponent keeps 7. Keep. I didn't bother to look up what this person was playing. I was doing other things while we were queuing. So we'll figure out what they're playing. No MTG Goldfish this time. Underground Sea. And Thoughtseize. You got it. They take the Song of Creation. Okay. A Mox Opal. We'll play Scalding Tarn and pass. Not really sure what they're playing quite yet. This could be a lot of decks. Dimir Tempo, Dimir Reanimator, Doomsday, even things like Storm, Polluted Delta, another Lotus Petal. This would be a decent spot to find Galvanic Relay. And we do. We'll put back Bloodstained Mire and Chromox. Let's play Lotus Petal. Another Lotus Petal. Mox Opal. Mox. Storm is 5. We'll fetch with Scalding Tarn. Definitely better than a Thoughtseize in this spot. And relay for 6. Assuming that we're not dead, this is better than Thoughtseize. If we die, then maybe not so much. Okay, so we have a mix of lands and spells. Well, technically no lands, of mana and spells, but not a lot of mana, which is a little bit of a concern here. They fetch with the Polluted Delta for an Undercity Sewers. Gets rid of Reanimate. Okay, so it is Reanimator. They have a Wasteland. That actually hurts quite a bit here, just because we're a little mana light with what we have going on here. So if we could draw a Dark Ritual or Lion's Eye Diamond, it would go a long way. They have 5 in hand. A land. So I believe I can Gaia's Will here with Veil of Summer backup. Let's play the Veil of Summer from exile. See if that resolves. It does. So now we'll play Chrome Mox. Imprint the Veil of Summer. Make some black mana now. And this should just be a pretty easy win. So one cool thing about when you are playing Galvanic Relay, we didn't get to do it here, but I think it's pretty cool, is that Beseech the Mirror becomes a lot easier to cast with Lion's Eye Diamond, because you can just sacrifice Lion's Eye Diamond and play the Beseech the Mirror from exile, which is not something you can do otherwise, because the cards are in exile, they are not in your hand. So you get to use Lion's Eye Diamond like a Black Lotus. I guess that's what I'm trying to say here. So that is the benefit of doing so. And here we have a Gaia's Will. Storm is 6, and now we can just play a bunch of the artifacts from the graveyard again. This was a draw where we saw the top third of our deck never hit a single Lion's Eye Diamond or Dark Ritual, and we still have a pretty easy win. Play the Chrome Mox, and now we'll tap the Mox Opal. We'll cast Beseech the Mirror Storm 12, grab Tendrils of Agony. Boom. Galvanic Relay. I mean, we didn't win match number 1, but I think if we had found a Galvanic Relay in either of the games we lost earlier, we would have won. So I'm not blaming match number 1 on Relay, if anything. I knew that we found it too late, game number 3, but that's fine. I just don't think blaming Relay for that. Like, Thoughtseize would have been bad there too. So now the question is, do you want Galvanic Relay versus the current iteration of Dimir Reanimator? They're not actually like a super heavy Reanimator deck, believe it or not. They play 2 targets for Entomb, and Atraxa, Grand Unifier, and Archon, what is it called? I had to look it up. Archon of Cruelty. I just couldn't remember the name of it. And then they play 4 Reanimate and 4 Entomb. That's it. So do you want to bring in Thoughtseize? Against most tempo decks, I don't. So I think I'm actually going to just resubmit this and try to just win with our main deck configuration. This is a turn 1 protected Echo of Aeons. We keep those with a bunch of mana floating. Like, the odds that this hand wins are very high. You would like to avoid a turn 1 Thoughtseize, I will say that. But these are the kind of hands that you dream about. Very good. They play Polluted Delta and pass. We find a Brainstorm. Let's play Lotus Petal. Chrome Mox. Imprint the Brainstorm. Let's try Veil of Summer. They fetch in response. And they Brainstorm. They Daze. We'll pay for Daze. Draw off the Veil. And we hit another Lotus Petal. Perfect. We'll play Lion's Eye Diamond. Dark Ritual. And now we'll make 3 blue. Flashback Echo floating 2 black and a blue Storm 9. And that's the game, folks. Easy does it. Imagine being Dimir Reanimator. Couldn't be me. Couldn't be me. Although, if you look at the challenge results from this weekend, it was like first, second, maybe it was like 6, 7, 8, and then it was also 9, like 13, 14, 15. Like, it put up like half of the top 8, or top 16. It was pretty ridiculous. So, out of 16 decks, it was like 8 of them. So Dimir Reanimator probably going to see another banning at the end of this month, but there's a whole month before we get there. But I kind of outdrew them game number 2. In game 1, Galvanic Relay did its thing. So all great things. We're back to 1-1 now. Let's try to get the next 3. Looking to make playing your favorite combo deck much easier? Look no further than the Epic Storm Mini Token Combo Pack, which is available at theepicstorm.com/shop for $14.99. This combo token pack comes with 84 double-sided tokens. That includes our classic Storm and mana tokens, as well as fan favorites such as Goblins, Squirrels, and Slime Time Live. But that's not all. We've expanded this token pack to cover a variety of formats with new tokens. Stop on by theepicstorm.com/shop and make an easy decision to elevate your combo game. Round number 3 on the draw. This hand seems fine. Once again, I was doing stuff while I was queuing it. The queue times have been very fast, by the way, like seconds. Like I hit play match, start putting in the results into my spreadsheet of what happened last round, and then we immediately queue. So people right now loving Legacy apparently in the leagues. I don't know if that's actually true. It's just people are playing Magic Online right now. So something that's come up is on the Eternal Glory podcast, which I am a part of alongside Brian Koval and Phil Gallagher, is that I have mentioned that I think that Opal spells should probably be hit in the next banning. But people are like, but Bryant, Storm wins turn 1. And I just had a turn 1 with backup, which is what people are upset about with Opal spells, and I completely understand that. It seems hypocritical that I, the person with a turn 1 win, would be upset over another deck with a turn 1 win with backup when I just did it. I understand that. But the big thing is it's about frequency. If something happens to you once every 50 games, let's say, I don't know the actual math here, but once every 50 games, yeah, it can happen, but it's not likely. But if it happens to you 10 times out of 50 games, that's a little irritating, right? Like, it shouldn't happen at that rate, and that's the problem. It's the rate in which things are happening. It's not that decks can do this, it's how frequently they do it, and I think that's sort of the problem. And I don't know how frequently it always like, I don't know the exact number, I guess I should say. But Opal spells at a high rate does have a turn 1 with backup. And the thing is, you know, they're playing Thoughtseize, Unmask, Pact of Negation, so it forces you into playing blue for free counter magic like Force of Will, or having Leyline of the Void. And Leyline of the Void is only a sideboard option, so that means if you're not playing blue, you're never winning game number 1. And I think that's part of the problem, is people don't sign up for Legacy to feel like they're getting vintaged. And that's the easiest way that you can say it, is in Vintage, your mulligans mean so much more because you could just die against the entire format in a blink. Legacy, people are signing up to play slightly longer games. They know that glass cannon decks can exist. Ooh, we're facing Doomsday. They can exist, but it's unlikely. And right now, Legacy feels like it's no longer unlikely. It feels like you're signing up for Vintage in the wrong format. And I think that's what a lot of people are getting upset about. We're going to get rid of Tendrils. They have 4 cards in hand. We find Veil of Summer. I'll play out Lotus Petal and then Brainstorm. This way my Brainstorm doesn't get hit by Daze. Ooh, that was rough. Okay. We'll put back Guy's Will and the Commercial District. Play Verdant Catacombs and pray that we're not dead. No payoff spells. Cameo Inquisitive Student. So this is definitely Doomsday. Tropical Island. And a Brainstorm, so this will transform the Tameo Inquisitive Student. And I don't think Legacy is the only format where people experience the I didn't sign up for this. When Pauper had Monastery Swiftspear legal, there was a lot of that going around where the mono red deck could easily turn 3 people. And in Pauper, you're like, okay, but turn 3, well, that was above rate for red at the time. And that was sort of where people are like, it's just not fun getting turn 3. Like, I played 2 tap lands and they just killed me. And Pauper experienced the getting legacied, they called it, and we're experiencing Legacy feeling a lot like Vintage right now. And that will, over time, power levels of the format rise. Like, that's always going to start to feel like, oh, wow, Legacy from 10 years ago doesn't feel like Legacy today. And I completely understand that. But the thing is, you don't want jumps. Like, most people are okay with gradual change, but when power levels drastically go up, people tend to be pretty unhappy. And I think that, you know, resistance to Opal spells and the current Reanimator decks are the feeling of, you know, I'm so sick of this happening to me. It's happening at such a high rate. There needs to be a change. My opponent took a very long time on that brainstorm. Like, I might have aged an entire year, but it's finally resolved. They have 3 cards remaining in their hand. End step, I will fetch. Grab the commercial district. So we see that they're playing green, which could mean main deck Veil of Summer. We have to get rid of Lion's Eye Diamond here. I just have to find a card that actually does something. And if they have Veil of Summer, we do have Approach of the Second Sun in the sideboard. Another Veil of Summer. I think I'm supposed to pass here. If I'm dead, that stinks, but just casting Veil of Summer and hoping that they Force of Will so that way I can Veil of Summer again seems very risky. They play another Lotus Petal. Oh, it looks like they have the win. Because they can minus the Tamiyo, or they just don't need it. They could have gotten back a Brainstorm. So if they don't have the win, that's their own fault. But I imagine they do. And it looks like they're building a Street Wraith pile because they're putting it back into the deck. 2 cards remain in their hand. So they did not Brainstorm before they played Doomsday. So if they kill me here, Ponder, it's not like me playing Veil last turn would have mattered. 1 Force of Will, 2 Force of Wills, 3 Force of Wills. So it looks like their last card in hand is a Force of Will, or they put 1 into their pile. And now they're going to use the Tamiyo to get back the Edge of Autumn. Sure. They cycle a Street Wraith. I think they put the Force of Will into the pile. That's my guess here. And that's why they got back the extra cycler. They play Cavern of Souls. They have 4 main deck Veil of Summer. And that is a Thassa's Oracle. Okay. Bummer. So we would like 3 copies of Thoughtseize. And then what do you board out? Well, it's tough because I actually do like Relay in the matchup. So I think you could probably shave like 1 Mox Opal, 1 Chrome Mox, and maybe 1 Gamble. Game number 2, we're on the play. Nope, can't keep that. So they are a deck that's going to board into a bunch of Force of Negations. So I don't think this hand is particularly good. Like, you have Echo, you could gamble for a Lion's Eye Diamond, but the odds that you just get Force of Willed into the dirt are so high. The question is my 5-card hand going to be any better? I don't know, but this feels even worse just because, like, the double Chrome Mox doesn't really do anything either. I'm going to go to 5. Okay, so not the best. Get rid of the Chrome Mox and Beseech the Mirror. Like, you could keep Beseech the Mirror and put back the Echo, but I feel like we're more likely to win off the Echo than we are Beseech the Mirror. Because Beseech the Mirror would require more mana and cards in graveyard to win. They open on Dark Ritual Doomsday. Classic. We'll take the Doomsday. Pass. Fluted Delta. And the Tamiyo can just get back the Doomsday in 2 turns, so it's not a long-term solution. Brainstorm. So I can set up the Brainstorm plus Surveil trick here. We'll grab an Undercity Sewers, and now I will Brainstorm. Well, that was pretty good. I guess I'm not doing that anymore. So, hide the Burning Wish, and it doesn't really matter. We'll put the Dark Ritual to the graveyard. So I was thinking about putting the Echo on top and then surveilling, but it actually opens you up to a Surgical Extraction. We don't want that. We'll do blue and red, because I have Galvanic Relay in the deck, and Gamble and Burning Wish. Like, floating red just is the correct move here. The Tamiyo will transform. We'll play out a Lotus Petal. Let's try Dark Ritual. Thoughtseize. They have double Force of Will, Doomsday. They actually have a win here. Kind of nuts. I can beat the Forces, honestly. I think it's just supposed to be Doomsday. We'll play Diamond. Galvanic Relay certainly looking good here. We'll play Galvanic Relay. Storm is 10. 2 lands and a Dark Ritual to start. Lotus Petal. Echo of Aeons. Verdant Catacombs. Beseech the Mirror. Beseech the Mirror. Veil of Summer. Song of Creation. I would like to play Gamble. We'll grab the final copy of Echo. And let's spin. This will draw out a Force of Will or just give me a new hand, and I am good with both. They Force of Will, exiling Tamiyo Inquisitive Student. Pass the turn. I won't lie, I certainly miss Galvanic Relay. Like, playing it feels good. Just having that higher threat density really goes a long way. They cycle the Street Wraith, they play land, they plus the Tamiyo, they play another Tamiyo, sure. So they drew a Tamiyo for the turn because, or off the Street Wraith, because they exiled one to the Force of Will. So we know that they still have Force of Will in hand. We draw Veil of Summer. Let's play Verdant Catacombs. We'll go search out the Taiga. I don't really care about the Badlands being in exile. Play the Taiga. We'll play Lotus Petal. Cast the Dark Ritual. And let's try the Veil of Summer here. Let's see if they try to Force of Will this. They don't. Okay. So now I can add 3 block. We will Beseech the Mirror with Bargain. Sacrifice the Lotus Petal. And this should just be a pretty easy win. We'll grab the Gaia's Will. Play it. Storm is 5. And we'll... Okay, I was going to say they want me to go through it, which is fine. I don't mind. It's just like, you know, what you decide to do with your time here on this planet. Okay, so do we want to change anything for the third game on the draw? Probably not. So I will hit submit. Game number 3, we're on the draw. They've taken a mulligan. I have Thoughtseize and Veil of Summer, which I'm definitely interested in here. So keep this. They kept their 6. They lead with a Misty Rainforest. They grab Underground Sea and Tamiyo Inquisitive Student. We find Taiga for our draw for the turn. I will fetch. I think I'm just going to play the Thoughtseize. If it gets dazed, I'm going to feel a little bad. But I don't think I want to exile. I mean, I could exile the Gamble. Maybe that's just the right move here. And that sets me up for Beseech the Mirror off of the Burning Wish. Thoughtseize you. Blue Elemental Blast, Force of Negation, Daze. So I would have been dazed. I think it's just the Brainstorm. Pass the turn. Just make sure the Tamiyo doesn't really do anything here, because they'd have to draw a land to even make a clue. They swing. Did you draw the land? No land. We draw Chrome Mox. So I could try to go Burning Wish. They would Blue Elemental Blast, I'd Veil of Summer, they'd Force of Negation. I don't think that's something I want here, so I'd rather just pass the turn. They attack and create another clue. They're closer to Metalcraft than I am. They drew Lotus Petal. Okay. They have 4 in hand. Another Dark Ritual. Pass the turn. They swing. 5 in hand. 3 clues in play. And now they're going to play Consider. They put Thassa's Oracle to the graveyard. And now they ponder. So this will transform the Tamiyo Inquisitive Student. I think I'd like to see a shuffle here. They did not shuffle. They plus the Tamiyo. No land. So this means that we have a window where the Blue Elemental Blast is not very good. Dark Ritual. Let's try a Burning Wish. That resolves. Okay. So, I mean, I could just go for the win here. I could get Beseech the Mirror, and then we could Beseech the Mirror win through Daze. I lose to a Force of Will in their hand. But I think I'm supposed to just go for it. So I'll grab Beseech the Mirror. Play that with the Chrome Mox. Imprint the Burning Wish. Play Dark Ritual. Beseech the Mirror with Bargain. Sacrifice Chrome Mox. Chrome is 5. They Force of Negation. I will Veil of Summer. They exile the Tamiyo, which is a card we didn't know about. They have 1 unknown card right now. Their last card was another Force of Negation. Wow. Okay. They still have Daze in hand. Okay. That hurts. I felt like that was my window when they didn't have the Blue Elemental Blast live. They plus the Tamiyo, play out a Lotus Petal, still have Daze in hand. Song of Creation does not help. I mean, instead of getting Beseech the Mirror, I could have gotten a Galvanic Relay. That would have been small. Would have been like 4 or 5. Yeah, we're dead. And now they ultimate the Tamiyo. They draw 23. I think I'm good to pick it up here. Unfortunate. So our opponent just happened to have another force. I knew it was a possibility. I believe in the previous game I said that they sideboard into a bunch of Force of Negations. And, well, they happened to find a second copy of Force of Negation, so that did beat me there. I could have gone for the Galvanic Relay. It's just, is it likely to win? Passing the turn, knowing that they now have a hard counter in Blue Elemental Blast, knowing they still have a Force of Negation. I don't know. It's a tough call. I don't think it was necessarily a misplay. I think I took a line that ended up not winning, which is something that happens in Magic, but Regardless, we're 1 and 2. Let's try to get the next 2. If you're still watching, make sure to give this video a like, comment, and subscribe. While you're near the description, here's a reminder to use our affiliate links if you're going to make a purchase from Amazon, Card Hoarder, or TCG Player. Just above those affiliate links, you'll find our social channels. Make sure to join those to connect with us. Round number 4, we're on the play. Our opponent's last few results are all Mystic Forge combo, but they do have some results with blue decks in the past, so I'm not sure what they're playing, but I'll keep this. This hand is very good. We have the possibility of turn 1 Echo of Eons with backup, and we have, mana floating, so we're going to see what we can do here. I'll play out the additional Opal. We'll fetch, grab Taiga, and gamble. So I'm going to grab a Lion's Eye Diamond. We discard the other gamble. So this is actually a protected turn 1 Echo. That said, a couple matches ago, I was talking about their frequency. There was risk there with the gamble. Plus, I haven't actually won. Like, there's a good chance I have to pass the turn. So, even though it's a turn 1 protected Echo, it's not a guaranteed win. I'd love it if it were. Did convert into a win, but it is not guaranteed. Long pause from the opponent here. We'll play out another Lion's Eye Diamond. Mox Opal. Do not have Metalcraft. I could Brainstorm here, and I think that I'm going to. Because I could hit Metalcraft. I could also just hit, another gamble, a Burning Wish, plus Artifact. Like, there's ways that this could convert into a win. So I think I'm going to play the Brainstorm. Play the Brainstorm. And instead we drew 3 duds. So I am now going to spin the wheel on Echo of Aeons again. This time we only have 2 mana floating. Ay. Let's Brainstorm. That's not a win. We will gamble to go dig for Lion's Eye Diamond. Select Lion's Eye Diamond. Beseech the Mirror to the graveyard. We'll play another Diamond. Another Opal. No Metalcraft. And now we'll spin Echo again. Storm 15. No mana floating this time. This is a win. Okay. We ended up getting there, but by the skin of our teeth. Like I said, not deterministic. We'll hold control on the Burning Wish. If I had a Grape Shot, this is Storm 20, but I don't. We're forced to play Approach of the Second Sun due to the One Ring. Grab the Tendrils of Agony. I get asked that sometimes in videos. People are like, why do you play Approach of the Second Sun? We have a giant category of Epic Storm videos here on the channel, and if you don't know why I'm playing something, there's a very high probability that in a previous video I talked about it. So if you're ever wondering why I'm not, or why I am playing a card, just go watch previous videos. I'm sure it's explained. Alright, so unknown opponent, but likely Mystic Forge combo. I think I'm going to bring in Thoughtseize. Get rid of Veil of Summer. Let's bring in all 4 Thoughtseize. Maybe 1 Beseiju. You could bring in the Abrupt Decays. I think the 1 Beseiju is fine. I'll board out 1 Galvanic Relay. Let's try this. They choose to play first. We've opened up a hand where, if they're on Mystic Forge combo, this hand is probably too slow. I will mulligan. This hand is a turn 1 win. Keep bottom the Beseiju Who Endures. Let's see what they're playing. Hers is mine. Pass. Alright. I hope everyone else is just like me and they're ready to eat dirt to a Mindbreak Trap. Alright, so I can imprint the Burning Wish, play the Opal. Yeah, I think this works. And we'll imprint the Gamble. I mean, maybe I shouldn't do the Mindbreak Trap, but I think if I get trapped, I'm probably just dead anyway. This Dark Ritual. Beseech the Mirror with Bargain, sacrifice the Opal. We'll grab another Beseech the Mirror. Sacrifice the Chrome Mox. I'm going to float mana here. Beseech the Mirror again. Sacrifice the Chrome Mox. Grab the Gaia's Will. We'll play it. Storm 8. So I also lose the Graveyard Hate here. We'll play Mox Opal. Play the Chrome Mox. Play Chrome Mox. And they concede. A pair of turn 1's not bad. Take that Mystic Forge combo. We're now 2 and 2. 1 match left to go. With Card Hoarder, renting your favorite combo deck has never been easier. There isn't a more affordable solution for Magic Online. Want to play the deck in this video? Check out the pinned comment below to easily rent the deck from Card Hoarder. Did you know you can rent the Epic Storm from Card Hoarder for as little as 7 tickets a week? The 5th and final round, we're facing a good friend of mine, Jarvis U. We're on the draw. And I've told Jarvis, wow, a villain has entered the chat. And Jarvis replied with, everyone is a hero in their own story. So I'm on the draw. I have a potential turn 1 Echo with backup, but I don't have green for the Veil of Summer. I'll keep this, but I need to get a little bit lucky with the draw step. Jarvis does prefer blue decks, but doesn't always play them. Underground Sea and Thoughtseize. Okay, strong start. And Jarvis takes a copy of Lion's Eye Diamond. Okay, we draw another Echo. We'll play Chromox, imprint the Dark Ritual, play Lion's Eye Diamond. Now the question is, do I disrespect? Do I think that Jarvis kept a hand with Forcible and Thoughtseize, or should I just spin here? I think I'm going to spin, because if Jarvis had a Forcible, I think he would have taken the Veil of Summer. So let's spin. Storm is 3, and it resolves. We'll play Scalding Tarn. I have to imprint the Veil of Summer in order to play Galvanic Relay here. Lion's Eye Diamond. And now we'll fetch. And this is going to be a Galvanic Relay for 6. Much better than Thoughtseize in this spot. Pew pew! We exiled Echo, Veil of Summer, Lion's Eye Diamond, Lotus Petal, Galvanic Relay, Brainstorm, Burning Wish. I don't know what Jarvis is playing, but I have a feeling these 7 cards win through whatever he's up to today. Another Underground Sea. Orcish Bowmasters. Sure. We'll play Veil of Summer. Lotus Petal. Are we I don't think we are playing Peer into the Abyss. We are playing Peer into the Abyss. So I could Peer into the Abyss here. Or I could just take the clean Beseech the Mirror win. A lot of people really like Peer into the Abyss. It came up in the Storm Discord. They're just like, oh, I miss it all the time. But I think the reality is the card just never gets used anymore. Because, yeah, I could Peer into the Abyss here and draw a bunch of cards. But at the same time, Beseech the Mirror just wins. Why do I need to open myself up to misfortune? Like, Beseech the Mirror is just deterministic. So we'll put the Burning Wish on the stack. Grab the Beseech the Mirror. Move this over a little. We'll float mana. Cast the Beseech the Mirror. Bargain away the Chromox. Grab another one. Sacrifice the Chromox. Play the Guy's Will. Storm 7. Lion's Eye Diamond. Lion's Eye Diamond. Black. 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 We'll play a Chromox. Beseech the Mirror with Bargain. Sacrifice the Chromox. And Tendrils of Agony. Okay. Sweet. If I had to guess, Jarvis is playing Dimir Tempo and not Reanimator. But it could be Reanimator. I don't think it's Doomsday or another combo deck, so I think I'm going to resubmit the same configuration rather than sideboarding. Because I think against both like, if it's Dimir Reanimator, there's not likely to be a Null Rod. But if it's Dimir Tempo, sometimes they play 1 or even 2 Null Rods in the sideboard. And if that was the case, I would want Boseiju Who Endures or Abrupt Decay. I'm just going to run it back. If we get blown up by a Null Rod, I'll just cry myself to sleep. No big deal. Wow, another turn 1 protected Echo. You know, I'm starting to look a little bad after my monologue earlier, but I mean, this isn't deterministic either. We'll keep. Another difference between the Epic Storm and Opal spells that I brought up in the Storm Discord recently was the interaction that's good against them. So obviously they both, like, Forcible isn't a card either deck wants to see. Another turn with Thoughtseize. Jarvis, you're killing me here. But the Epic Storm can't win through a Force of Negation just like in their hand not doing anything. Where Opal spells, they can just ignore Force of Negation. They could just play, you know, a Lotus Petal innocently to start, play their land, remove a couple Spirit Guides, play their Spy, and then, you know, they have 2 copies of Cabal Therapy. They could just Cabal Therapy the Force of Negation away. So that is pretty different because Force of Negation is a card that really hurts the Epic Storm. So I think it's just vastly different. And then there's things like Fairy Macabre and Surgical Extraction. Like, yeah, Echo can play through Fairy Macabre, but what doesn't is Guy's Will. Guy's Will loses to Surgical or Fairy Macabre if you're just jamming on turn 1. Opal Spells has that built-in protection with Memory's Journey. Like, it's just not the same. Opal spells is a lot more resilient, and it wins through counter magic more easily. So I think it's not necessarily the same. We will Echo Floating 3 mana with a 4th mana untapped. And it looks like it just resolves. Wow. Okay. We'll play Verna Catacombs. So this is a win through Force of Will. We'll play out the Opal. Dark Ritual. Burning Wish. Floating 4 mana. So this has to be Force of Will or else we win. And that's a Force of Will. Okay. And now I will beseech the mirror with Bargain, sacrificing Mox Opal. Grab Tendrils of Agony. I have no idea what Jarvis was playing. Oh, wow. Got a little lucky there. 2 pretty good draws in a row. So we went 3-2, which isn't the world's best record. My previous 2 Epic Storm leagues were both 5-0s. I don't know if I missed Leyline of the Void in this league. Like, let's be honest. I didn't really need it. Against the Reanimator decks, I kind of just turn 1 them a bunch. But, you know, it still has legs. We lost to Izzet Tempo, where we never really drew a payoff spell until it was too late. The main deck Thoughtseize doesn't fix that. So, in between match 4 and 5, I drew up this list here based on what I've been playing. This is something else you could do. So you have your 3 main deck Galvanic Relays, and then you have 3 copies of Thoughtseize in the sideboard. Instead of playing the Reverent Silence, the Approach of the Second Sun, you play 2 more copies of Thoughtseize, and you get Leyline of the Void. So you don't have the full playset of Thoughtseize, so you can't board all 3 in and have 1 to Burning Wish for. But you do get Leyline of the Void against Opal spells. This could be something you try. But you can't beat a Veil of Summer or the One Ring on your Tendrils. You could empty the Warrens and pass. That's an option. But you struggle against Veil of Summer or the One Ring. That's the downside. You lose Reverent Silence in order to beat opposing copies of Leyline of the Void. But these are just options you have. This is something you could try out. Let me know what you think of the 3 different deck lists. The one that Velgrim wanted me to play today, 16.9, 17.0, which is the one that I've been playing the previous 2 videos that I went undefeated with twice, or the list in front of you right now. So I'd be interested in your feedback on what you think I should be playing moving forward. Thank you to Velgrim for today's donation deck. I really do appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful day. Keep storming. Hey, Bryabt Cook. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. There's no better way to support our channel. If you're interested in elevating your combo game, visit theepicstorm.com/tutoring for details about our coaching sessions. Don't worry, there's more great combo content coming right up.